And now our core business, so to say, is exercise. Now, we know that all of the elements are important. You have strength, cardio, and mobility. But would you say that there's one element that should be prioritized? And are their respective roles, do they change with age?
Well, listen, as you know, I'm a big proponent in prescribing the medicine of exercise. I prescribe it to every patient I see. We set up a course on teaching medical students, doctors of the future, how to prescribe exercise. There are entire initiatives on prescribing the medicine of exercise. It's such an important message. And we want people to think about exercise as a drug that people should take. It's got tremendous medicinal value. We have great evidence on the importance of exercise. Now,
and it's free.
And it's free, you better believe it. That being said, there are different types of exercise, and they need to be kind of thought about differently. So strength, cardiopulmonary fitness, and balance all are different things that fall into the general recommendation of the CDC in terms of what kinds of exercise people could get. Now, in general, the CDC recommends 150 minutes of exercise per week or 30 minutes per day of exercise that should compose some combination of strength training, some combination of cardiopulmonary training, and some combination of balance training. Why are they each important? Well, strength training, we lose muscle as we age. It's unavoidable. From about 25 to 30 years old down, we're losing muscle, but that muscle loss tends to be somewhat selective. We all have type 1 slow twitch and type 2 fast twitch muscles that make up our muscle fibers. We selectively lose the fast twitch fibers much more quickly than the slow twitch fibers, which is why if you're doing a long, slow endurance event, you can keep your times somewhat closer to how you used to do them, but the short bursts of activity tend to be problematic. And in my office, I see many more pickleball or tennis injuries in 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds who are not keeping up with their skeletal muscle mass and just going out and doing these quick sprinting activities, and they don't have enough type 2 or fast twitch muscle fiber. So keeping that muscle fiber is important, and thinking about ways to do that is important, as we both know, both as a doctor and as a trainer. I want to emphasize the importance of stability with strength training. So stability is your body's ability to balance, and when you're well balanced, things like deadlifts and lunges and many of these activities are done better, they're done more safely, and more importantly, you activate all the muscles around your kinetic chain that are responsible to keep you upright, not falling, and having much more productive exercise sessions. So stability is really the name of the game, and you can develop your stability by doing things like single leg exercises and balance exercises to improve your own stability. Now, the other piece is cardiopulmonary fitness. Your heart muscle needs to be trained. Cardiac muscle is a muscle, and it weakens with age, and training your cardiopulmonary fitness is essential. Now, people might think I'm getting older, I shouldn't think about intensity, but in fact, the opposite is true. As you age, intensity and intensity training becomes more important. There was a really interesting study done looking at how people tolerated intense exercise, and interestingly, they tolerated exercise intensity much better if they were with a group. So things like group fitness, like that you do, have a lot of value in getting people to push their zones of uncomfortableness together.
Ties back into that community aspect as well.
You better believe it. And then finally, balance and balance training. Now, if you thought, like, what does balance training make a difference? It does for coordination, for lessening risk of falls as you get older. Those are all great things. Now, that can be something as, simple as balancing on one foot, but maybe some things like yoga once or twice a week to work on balance and coordination, a great way to do that. So each of these components is important and should be part of your exercise prescription.
We know that both muscle mass and strength training are crucial for health and fitness, but should one be prioritized over the other when it comes to longevity?
Yeah, listen, it's a good question. Muscle hypertrophy versus strength. I always think about a really interesting study done from Brazil looking at how people got off the floor. I included this in my book, The Exercise Cure, looking at the concept of longevity and mobility. And they looked at how people got off the floor and how many appendages it took for them to get off the floor, meaning getting on one knee, a hand and a knee, two hands, and basically they correlated your life expectancy to how many appendages you needed to get off the floor. So you had the shortest life expectancy if you needed hands and knees together to get up off the floor. And if you didn't need that, you could get up from a seated to a standing position. That was the most favorable. So what that means is that muscle hypertrophy, big muscles, is not what we should be after. That's impossible, almost impossible to maintain over life, even if you're a bodybuilder. But what you can do, and what falls off much slower, is functional strength. You should be after building and maintaining your functional strength. And how do you do that? You do that with things like compound exercises, multiple joints at the same time. Not just doing bicep curls, but doing different types of activities that stress multiple joints. Burpees, which nobody loves, but tremendously effective for mobility, strength, and balance at the same time. Great examples of compound movements that help us maintain strength, which definitely correlate to longevity.
So as we get older, we should definitely be prioritizing what we're focusing on.
Yeah, I think so. And what we do, how you train people that are older, I'm sure is very, very different. But I want people to be thinking about how I maintain my strength while simultaneously not being afraid of intensity. I think that's a big piece of what we're going to talk about and do. And I want people not to be afraid of that.